Now let us see about threat intelligence. Before going to threat intelligence, we should clearly understand the difference between vulnerability, risk, threat, and exploit. Do any one of you know like what is the major difference between vulnerability, risk, threat, and exploit? No? Okay. So vulnerability is like a weakness in a system or program that can be exploited by threat to gain access to unauthorized assets or resources. Okay. Now, when it's a vulnerability, it can be a weakness in a program or system or a server, can be anything. So vulnerability can be exploited by a threat. Okay. Now, what threat can do? That can be a possible danger or attempt that can be used to exploit existing vulnerability to disrupt business or cause damage. Now, threat will exploit the vulnerability. Okay, what mechanism it will use? The mechanism it uses is the exploit. Exploit can be a code, it can be a script, it can be anything. Threat will use exploit to basically or to basically exploit the threat can be used. Sorry, threat can the threat which I'm talking here can use a tool or a mechanism or a script to basically exploit a vulnerability. Vulnerability is a weakness. Since there is a weakness in the system, threat was able to exploit that. How we is exploiting using a tool or mechanism, that we call it as exploit. Okay, now what is it? Okay, sorry, what is risk here? Now threat is trying to exploit the vulnerability. Because of that, there is a disruption or there is a damage to the resources, that we call it as a risk. Okay, clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, now let us see about threat intelligence. So generally we say threat intelligence is a knowledge that organization uses to understand the threats that they have or they will or currently targeting the organization. So there are many organizations that are targeted. There are some say targeted company attacks or campaign groups that try to attack a specific group, specific companies. There is a group of people that we call as APTs or advanced persistent threats. What they will do, they will target a specific company and they will try to attack that. So how do you get the understanding, or how do you safeguard your company from those? Okay, for that you need to do something. You need to have something known as a knowledge database. That is nothing but intelligence, threat intelligence. What it will help? It will help you to prevent or prepare or identify cyber threats. Okay, so that you can safeguard your environment. Now we will see how, what is threat intelligence and what are the different types in it, and how do you safeguard everything. We'll see. For now, just remember it's a knowledge database where it will give you uh, some indicators, okay, so that you can prepare or prevent from cyber attack. Okay, we'll see what is the intelligence it gives us. Okay, there are two types in this. One is subscription based and open source. So subscription based is like we have several tools who offer based upon the paid model, and there are some tools which offers like the open source. You need to pay anything for that. Okay, as I said, threat intel is nothing but a database of indicators of compromise, IOCs we call it as. We'll see next slides what is the data threat intel database, what does it consist of, and all. Okay, I told you threat intelligence sources, right? I told you about open source, we have commercial. In open source, generally we refer to VirusTotal, abuse.ch. Then we have US cert, OSINT, threatfeeds.io. US cert is nothing but US government's response team, where they will alert us for any cyber threats. Okay, this is very good source of attacks. Okay, similarly we have VirusTotal, abuse.ch. These are threat intel platforms. Okay, then we have commercial ones like IBM X-Force, Palo Alto, Autofocus, Recorded Future, Anomaly Threat Stream. These are the different commercial tools available in the market. Now, who consumes this threat intel? Okay, this can be consumed by SIEM, this can be integrated with the EDR, this can be consumed by a firewall. Okay, by various tools consumes this threat intelligence. Okay, now let us see to how can we identify based on different intelligence. Okay, now we see threat feeds. Okay, threat feeds are nothing but you will be getting a feed from open source or from commercial. You'll getting a feed. What is this feed? This feed consists of IP, URL, hashes, all the malicious IPs, all the malicious URLs, all the malicious say tools or all the malicious um, domains that are used by threat attackers. Okay, using this, it's very difficult to identify the exact threat. There are more number of false positive. Okay, these IOCs are nothing but combination of like they have different parameters like IP address, hashes, URLs, domains. These all are called as IOCs, indicators of compromise. That is nothing but the threat feed that is integrated to your different tools. Okay, using this threat feed of IOCs, it is difficult to identify the exact threat because many times it gives you a lot of false positives. Then you can use your threat monitoring. Okay, these threat monitoring, then you have instant, then you have operational intelligence. So then the second part is the operational intelligence. This we call it the tactical intelligence. Tactical means basically you will use only threat feeds, okay, to detect a threat. But operational intelligence means you will use a behavior. Okay, you will map the tactics, techniques and procedures, and you will make a pattern out of it. Then you will try to identify the threat. That is operational intelligence. Then you have threat researchers. Basically these threat researchers will follow various APT groups and all, and they will do research, continuous research on that, and they will give you the uh, they will also do the company specific they will also follow the company specific attacks, company specific intelligence, and they will give you the data for that. So operational intelligence, these threat researchers will or deceptions means honeypots. What these honeypots will do, they will trap the attackers, and then they will try to identify the pattern or the attackers behavior, and it will give you that data. Now these threat researchers, what they will do, they will get this data from operational intelligence, from threat feeds, from honeypots. These threat researchers will correlate and understand and make a possible threat behavior out of it. Okay, so the difficulty, once you are at this level where you have various threat intelligence sources as well as various deception technologies, and you can possibly detect the threat vectors. Okay, here there are less number of false positives compared to this area. Okay, next we'll see about IOC and IOA. As I said, IOC stands for indicators of compromise and IOA stands for indicators of attack. So basically it is an attribute associated with an attack. What are these attributes? This can be an IP address, URL, email, hashes and all. So whose IP address, whose URL, whose email ID? These are attackers. The attacker, when he tries to compromise any environment, what he will do? He will try to use his own domain, his own IP, or his own URLs or files or some tools, right? These all are captured by, these all are called intelligence. These intelligence is captured by various tools, and it is given to our company or our company in the form of paid subscription or in the form of open source or the free. Okay, that intelligence that the company consumes, this is the intelligence that the company consumes. These are the attributes of the attacker. Okay, indicators of these indicates the compromise. Okay, now what are indicators of attack? Like, unlike these indicators of compromise, okay, used by legacy endpoint detection and solutions, indicators of attack focus on detecting the intent of what attackers is trying to accomplish. Okay, so what these indicators of attack do is that they will try to see the anomaly or change in the behavior, or some anomaly processes running, or unknown services running, unknown processes running. They try to identify these not based upon the IOCs. They're trying to identify based upon the indicator of attacks. So example I can give you is that a process running or unknown process that has been not run before, now it is running. So this can be a possible mechanism that attacker is using to exploit. Okay, he might be running some script. Okay, or he might be running his own tools in our environment. These are indicators for attack. Indicators are compromised, you will have more number of false positives compared to indicators of attack, because indicators of compromise might change. Say today attacker is using one IP, tomorrow there is no guarantee that he will use the same IP to attack another customer, right? Another company, right? So indicators of compromise always changes. They are not like a fixed. Today attacker is using same IP, same URL, same file, same script to attack. For the next company or next attack, he might use or he might not use. Okay, that is the reason we have huge number of false positives in indicators of compromise, IOCs, using these IOCs. Okay. Now, as I said, there are three types of intelligence. Okay, tactical intelligence, then operational, then strategic. Okay, when coming to tactical intelligence, what this means is that we our major goal in this tactical intelligence is that we buy or we subscribe for uh, the intelligence which we get, like the IOCs in the sense I told you, right? The URLs or the IPs that attackers are using, we get the database or intelligence of that. That is tactical cyber threat intelligence. So we only rely on IOCs. We only rely on the attacker's IPs, email IDs that he's using for attacking. Okay, who is using this? Which people or products are using this? SOC analyst will use. Okay, he will try to search for these IPs in the same tool, and security products like IDS, IPS firewall are integrated. These threat intelligence IOCs are integrated into the tool, so that automatically, if there is any new IPs or new attacks, automatically those IPs will be coming into this tool, and it will match with that. If there is any match, it will alert us. Similarly, SIAM. Now all the SIAMs are coming with threat intel feature, where the threat intel can be ingested into the SIM, and we can write a rule in such a way that if any of these parameters are matching with our log sources, it will basically alert you. Okay, that is tactical intelligence, which is purely based on IOCs. And operational intelligence is majorly understanding the behavior of the attack and the is intent. Okay, that is operational intelligence. What we use here is that tactics, techniques, and procedures. What are these tactics, techniques, and procedures? I will explain you a little later. But for now, understand, here we identify the attack based upon the behavior. Here in tactical, we try to identify the threat based on IOCs. That is a major difference. Here we identify based upon the behavior. How do we identify behavior? Based upon the tactics, techniques, and procedures. How do you map this? I will tell you later. But now, for now, just understand this is behavior based. Okay, who will use this? Threat hunters, threat responders, security engineers, and incident responders will use this kind of intelligence. Most of the companies uses operational CTA. Okay, now statistics CTA. So what this is, that this is very for high level management or C level executives. Why this is required? So for example, today you are using one tool in your company. Okay, that has been got into a cyber attack. Now it's up to the management in future they want to use that tool or not. That decisions are taken based upon the intelligence, strategic intelligence. Okay, they use this intelligence to take decisions when whether we can use the same tool maybe next year, or we need to change to a different tool since it got into an attack or some cyber attack or something. So that strategic decisions are taken by higher level of management. That is based upon strategic CTI. Okay, now let us see the pyramid of pain. I'm talking about IOCs, right, so far. So if you see, hash values, IP address, domains, system artifacts, attacker tools, and techniques. This is the most difficult thing to identify. Okay, this is the most easiest thing to identify. For example, some person is doing a brute force attack. Okay, now what we'll check? We'll check for his IP address, his say, from where he is doing. We'll check all those details. That is easy to identify, right? That is not that difficult. You can identify from a SEM tool or from logs. Now what you will do, you will try to see in a I told you, right, tactical intelligence. You might have subscribed for a uh, paid intelligence platform or open source. You will try to search this IP in that paid intelligence platform. Then they will give you the details of that IP, whether it is malicious or not. Okay, that is very easy to identify an attacker. So if you find this is an possible attack, then you'll block it in a firewall. Okay, that is easiest way of finding. Now coming to domains. Now the thing is that attacker might not use the same IP every time, right? So we cannot possibly trace the attacker easily. Okay, here there are more number of false positives. Here there are bit less compared to here, because he need to use domain DG. If you have heard about DGS, many attackers use domain generating algorithms. Okay, to create every time they create a new domain. Okay, and even though if they create the domain, it is stored, the source domain is stored in our logs and we can identify him. Okay, but compared to this, there are some less number of false positives here. Then system artifacts. Okay, attacker might okay, might stay in our environment, or use uh, uh, might use the open ports, or might use some other um, uh, loopholes in our network and try to exploit. Okay, here we can use network traffic to basically correlate and catch the attacker. There are some less number of false positives here. Next is attacker tools. Now attacker might bring his own tools to exploit our environment, or he might use our own tools. Means attackers generally stay for long time in our environment, and they will observe all our environment. Okay, then accordingly they will compile their own scripts that as compatibility with our environment. Okay, with our own tools, and they will try to exploit. Okay, now in this case they might bring their own tools, or they might bring their own scripts, or they might use existing tools to exploit in our environment. Okay, so here it is bit difficult to find their behavior, but at last there is something known as tactics and techniques. So if you are not able to identify in this all, the final thing is that this tactics, techniques, and procedures. So attacker might follow some pattern. Say first he will try to do some information gathering, then he will try to catch some open port, then he will try to check the service whether it is the exploit is available, then he will try to exploit. So we will observe all these patterns, and will probably design a will bring a pattern out of it, and we will try to understand what is his next step. Okay, what he's gonna do next, whether it is matching with any existing attack pattern. Okay, that we will check. That we call it as tactics, techniques, and procedure. This is most difficult thing to identify. Okay, once you reach this part, then there are more chances of true positives compared to this. Okay, so that is pyramid of pain, we call it as. Then TAXII and STIX. So this is basically, first I will explain of structured threat information expression. STIX is, so there is a language that is developed to consume threat intelligence. So this is an unique, I mean, this is the same format for any intelligence that you are using in your company. It should be in this particular format, or in this particular language. Okay, that is developed by MITRE and Cyber Threat Intelligence Committee. Okay, now what is TAXII? To transfer these threat intel with the sticks to different companies, they use some protocols. Okay, some transfer mechanisms. That is TAXII. I will explain with you. And so here, if you see, it is a transport mechanism to share threat intelligence. What it is sharing? It is sharing this. Okay, in the form of a package. If you see, this is the architecture. So we have a server, then we have a client. Okay, now we will share the intel to different clients. These clients are nothing but different companies. Assume these are the different companies, and if these companies find any new threats or new things, they can push to the server, the TAXII server. They will push in the form of sticks. Okay, this client server model for TAXII. This is a transport mechanism. Okay, TAXII is a transport mechanism, and STIX is a language developed. Okay, a common language developed to create a intelligence, cyber threat intelligence. Okay, it's a structured threat information expression, we call it as. Okay, that is STIX, and TAXII is for transport of that CTI. Okay. Now let us see about cyber threat intelligence life cycle. Now there are six phases in this. If you want to evaluate any intelligence, there are six phases of it. One is collection, processing, analysis, dissemination, feedback. Okay, planning, and direction. Okay, these are the six. Now let us see each one in detail. For example, if you take any company, this is how they design your threat intelligence workflow. Okay, first they will start. The first thing is that I have designed it in a flow chart. Let us go through that. First is scope and planning. In scope, what they decide is that, so what assets they need to protect first. That is important in case of any kind of uh, attack. What is the risk, or what is the impact? How do they decide the impact? What are the procedures they need to follow? The scope is designed here, or from where they need to they will have all the data of their assets, like what assets are important, what is the major priority, what intelligence they need to fit. There are some companies, like there are some data specific companies, okay, say data management companies. There are some healthcare companies. So they want the intelligence more related to their data based companies. Some companies want more intelligence related to healthcare domain, or their company group of companies. Okay, in that case they will decide a scope. Okay, we need these kinds of intelligence and all. Okay, we need to protect our critical assets. Okay, they will plan that, they will design the scope for that. Then the collection. What is collection? In collection, basically you will collect the threat intelligence. I am telling the IOCs, right? I told paid model and free source. Okay, in my first slide I showed you, right? Here if you see, there is open source and commercial. So they can choose from there, from where they want to get the intelligence. Okay, now that is a collection. Okay, now they are collecting the intelligence. Okay, now what they need to do, they need to do analysis. What analysis they will do? They will enrich, they will look into the TTPs and IOCs, they will sanitize, prioritize, and action. So sanitize means they might not require some data, okay, that is might be irrelevant for them, so they will remove that. Or these particular intelligence might contain some TTPs and IOCs. What they will do, they will take these TTPs and IOCs and they will put in their SEM. If anything is matching, that will give the alert. Enrichment. So some intelligence might not have complete details. Okay, you need to get the data and you need to enrich that. Okay, then you need to prioritize. Okay, what is the priority for that? Do we need to take action immediately, or what are the actions need to be taken? So that will be coming in analysis phase. Okay, then this is reviewed by higher management. If the analysis is correct, then they will go for dissemination. Otherwise they will again reevaluate. Dissemination means they will send these to overall organization or the specific teams that are responsible. They will send to that teams. Then if that team identifies this is really a threat, this is really affecting us, then they will follow the IR process and they will resolve it. Otherwise they will just stop it. Now let me give you some example and tell you. Okay, now okay, I will just show you one document, then you might easily understand. If you see, I think around 4 or 5 months back, there is an uh, one attack called Prince Puller attack. If you ever heard about that, just show you that. Yeah. So if you see Windows Prince Puller remote code execution vulnerability, this was a 0-day vulnerability. There is no patch at that time, like it was in July 1st or somewhere. Yeah, July 1st. The Microsoft has released the summary of it and the workaround. For time being, how can you stop that from getting attacked? And it gave you all these things, mitigations and all, workaround and all. This was in July. After that, they have released the patch and they have released the complete document for that. How can you evaluate and all, they have released after that. But when it is a 0-day attack, I mean when it's a 0-day vulnerability, then they have given the limited details. Okay, now what you will do as a company, you need to create a threat intel report, right? Now what you will do, so as a company, you will create a threat intel advisory for your company, saying this is the heading and this is the CVID. Severity is high, CVS score is this, and what are the affected versions? All versions of Windows. Now this is documented by a specific person. You will write his name. Then you will give the description of that. What are the workarounds mentioned? And what are the recommendations or best practices to be followed in order to get rid of this vulnerability or attacker trying to exploit us? And what are the references for that? This is how you create a threat intel document. Okay, now what you need to do, you need to send across the company. Okay, now if you take this process, now you will understand. Now you know, you have collected this intelligence. This is like open source, like we collected it from open source place, right? This intelligence not only means an IOCs or URLs, IPs, tactics, techniques. Your intelligence also means if there is any vulnerability, you need to patch it. That can also be an intelligence. Okay, now you collected that and you need to do analysis. Okay, now I told, okay, there is an one principle at vulnerable 0-day vulnerability and you need to fix it. Okay, now your product team will ask what are the versions affected for this. Okay, you need to mention all those things in the report which I showed you, right? This you will mention what are the, see, I mentioned all the versions of Windows. If there is a specific version, you will mention that. Okay, now what you will do, That is a simple open source intelligence. If you go for a paid version, what that company will do, along with this, they will also provide the complete report of that. See, if you see this particular cyber reason has given complete how does this vulnerability is working, what they are doing. See, they have given complete details of that. What is the how they are basically doing remote code execution, the process, what they have given complete analysis of that, right? And at the end, they will give you, if you go at the end, see, they will give you indicators of compromise. This is interesting for us, right? This is what we want. Okay, now what you will do as an analyst, what you will do, you will get these domains. Okay, you will get these domains, and you will create a rule in your SIM. Okay, you will create a rule in your SIM. You create a rule in your SIM saying, if anything matches with this particular domain or URL, block it. Alert it. Okay, you will write in such a way. Basically, you are using your IOCs. Who is giving these IOCs? These are paid or free source. I told you, right? Some companies will give you as a paid model. When you subscribe for them, they will send you these particular reports or intelligence to directly to your SIEM or via reports based upon your subscription model. Okay. Now, what you need to do? You need to take these IOCs and see here. Now we have all the details, IOCs and all. What you will do with these TTPs and IOCs, you will try to feed it into your SIM and try to find if there are any alerts. If there is any unrelevant data, you will sanitize. Means you will remove that. Okay. If there are some things which are not relevant to your company or not relevant to your environment, you will remove that. Then you will prioritize. Priorities in the sense there are affected versions. For example, the Windows 2012 server version is affected. What you will do? You will take that as a priority, and if there is a production, if there is production affected and non-production also affected with the same version, first you will fix the production instead of non-prod. Okay, because production is facing to customers, that priority you will be taking. Then the enrichment, if you will do further more research, and is there any other, apart from remote code execution, is there any other possibility that this attack can bring us? You will enrich that with a few more data, and you will plan your actions. Then your manager will review. If that is correct, then you will send across all the product teams. What your product teams will do, they will follow the recommendations given in the document. Okay, now we have sent the document, right? We have sent the threat intelligence report, right? They will follow the recommendations, how to fix it and all. Okay, once it is fixed, fine. Once it is able to patch, it's fine. But this is a zero day attack. There is no complete fix for that. What you will do, or your team was not able to fix, then you will follow incident response process to fix it, or to contain it or remediate it. Okay. If not, you can, if there is no threat, or you are able to fix, or you are able to update the patch, then you will stop it. Okay, this is the threat intelligence workflow.